Okay, everyone, let's start looking volume, see if that's doing as it should. It is, so let me just make sure everything is hidden that I need to hide. Yeah, I have that splash screen up on purpose just to make sure. Oh, there we go. And that looks like it worked as well. Cool. All right, so as people trickle in, looks like the market's just closed. Let me mute myself. God, who's that annoying guy? Um, Basically, what we do here is we take an hour at the end of the week, and I just go through the short videos that I did last week, followed by kind of my thoughts of the market, what happened this week, what I'm looking at for next, and then scan through some charts and try to figure out what I'm going to make that short video for tonight. And then I leave and go do that and bundle all of this up for the Stats Edge Trading Pro people. So, again, if you're interested in this, if you're new to this or new to my channel, or even if you've been here for a while, essentially what Stats Edge Trading Pro is, which is going to be in the description below and everything like that. You can go to my website, statsedgetrading.com. I'm going to make some graphics and stuff, I think, for on the weekend, but it's basically the output of what you're going to see me do, right? So I work for an hour or two every night and put together my thoughts of the market and a handful of stocks that I'm interested in and why I'm interested in them and all of that. And then I publish that output for Stats Edge trading clients so they can see kind of my thought process on the market. And we have a live member webinar. They get access to my scans, a bunch of other stuff, but that's kind of the crux of it. So let's start actually, because I had someone ask, by going through the trades that I mentioned during the week and what I did with them. We'll start with that and then go from there. So the first one was WVE. That one I actually got in and out of the same day. So I was looking at WVE when it looked more in the neighborhood of like this, I think. So I actually took it the next day, and then when this little doji happened, I moved my stop up under that doji, and I got stopped out the next day. So, near flat on that one, but a tiny loss. ALRM just fell off. Being protected by probably something I don't need to be protected on. So yeah, the next one was Alarm. I was looking forward to break out of this little channel. Looks like that didn't happen. Oh yeah, I'm not getting protected by anything. I love having cameras all over this place. Yeah, so this one just fell out of bed, so there was no entry to be had on that. AEVA, same thing. I was looking for it to kind of get up over this area. It didn't, so it just fell off. No trade on that. It's going to see a lot of these. ANAB, I still actually have on watch because it hasn't fallen out. It's still in this base, so I still like this one. And then NKTX is the only one I took a trade on this week. I guess that WVE as well. This was actually brought to my attention by a member in the room, and I liked this short float that we had happen here. You can see this thing chop sideways when it gapped up today and then sold down as it kind of reclaimed this in the afternoon, and so I bought some here. So I'm about flat on that position, but I do like the look of that one as kind of a little potential rounding bottom, cup and handle type of thing. Hey Grant, hey Sam, how's it going, everyone? So that was it. So that was pretty quick because, as most people that are trading now are knowing, there's a lot of chop, a lot of slop, right? It's a choppy market, which makes a lot of sense, being that it's phase, the second year of a bull market, and the second year of the bull market's usually like that. Cool experiment that I'm going to try, and I'm going to post to the members of Stats Edge Pro kind of how that goes in real time. Where next week and for 1 month, I'm just looking at my calendar down here on my iPad. I'm only going to start trading for the last hour of every day. I've been working really hard on some different algos that are suited to that, but then at the same time, um, not just for real time scanning, but also for the watch lists I'm creating as well. I've noticed that if I had done that over the past few months in this kind of choppier market, I would have been better off. So I just want to conduct an experiment of, what I call the last hour trader, where I'm going to build my watch list the night before, ignore it all day, enter all trades from the watch list and these new algorithms that I'm building in the last hour of the day, and try that for an entire month for all of my swings. I'm still going to be running my day trading algorithms and doing some day trading in the mornings, but just when it comes to swings, I'm going to try to not even open that account until the last hour of the day, where I'm going to open it up, connect it to Brokers Plus, do all the trading, and then go from there. The algorithms, probably not the algorithms, but what I'll keep doing, just because they use some stuff that I can't share, but the output of them for sure, right? That's kind of the point of Stats Edge Pro, is that it's looking over my shoulder as I create them and everything. So we'll talk in detail more um, about that in the members webinar, which is happening soon. Not next week, but the week after. I think I'm going to make it the last week of every month, just to make it so that it's consistent in that way. Barring vacations and stuff like that, right? I like to take a lot of time off and travel, because what's the point of this if you can't do that? So, let's go in here, there for our, and let's actually just hide the sidebar. I don't need that. So that's like a whole chart. Yeah, so that's going to be kind of the crux of the whole program, is that everything I'm doing, you're going to at least see my process. And if there is something that I can produce in a shareable format, I will. But, again, some of it's just kind of proprietary stuff. So this is a chart that I show you guys each and every week as we start our market analysis part of the stream. And again, ask questions as it go, right? This is why I do this, to get you guys interaction and everything. So the big thing I want to point, I know this screen's like kind of scary to some, but it basically just shows over the last 5 days the different sectors within the SPY, how they performed, what was up, what was down, all of that. And there are some notes here that I think are very important, right? So XLE down 8% this week. I've been talking about that in the blog posts for the pro guys all week. It has this rounded top that I'll look at, and I knew it was, didn't know. I thought it was going to break down before it did. But what is also interesting to know, if you look at the top three sectors, they're XLU, XLP, and XLRE. So XLU is utilities, right? So think gas, water, electricity, that type of thing. XLP, consumer staples, diapers, food, right? Things that you need that are staples or you'll die. And XLRE is real estate, right? So the reason I love this screen so much is, what do these three sectors all have in common? Oh, and number four, we could even say, right? The only ones that are positive, let's put it that way, is healthcare, right? So this will feel like time that I should be asking the audience here. Let's do some tests. Like, what is significant of these four sectors being the only positive sectors this week. See one of my dogs. Hi. Can they see you? While I wait for an answer. If no one answers, I'll just answer it anyway, like that awkward substitute teacher. Hey, Cena, sit. Look, I'm trying to make you famous on the internet. Hi. I move the camera so I can actually do stuff like this. Hi. I should have fed you supper before I started this. You're going to be mad about that. That's okay. You can wait. Basic needs. Yes, so that's right. Basic needs, defensive names, right? So what's these four sectors are all sectors that you need to live, right? So what generally happens, why these sectors are so important, is it's where money goes when money is worried about. No, that's the quiet one. The noisy one's barking somewhere. So people are getting nervous, right? So they're moving their money into things that they think are going to be defensive, right? That are going to do well if something bad happens, right? So, it's take that for what it is, but that's something that's making me very defensive about the market in general, right? And we've been talking about that a bit in the room about how I'm waiting till later in the day to make trades, and I'm being way quicker on taking partial profits and, moving stops up more aggressively and all of those things. And that's the main reason why, is that, the money that moves sectors like this doesn't do it willy-nilly, right? They're big institutions and funds and all of this. So, the fact that this is going on makes me a little bit nervous that, not end of the world stuff, right? Those people are insane, but we could be due for a pullback. So speaking of that, let's take a look at our weekly charts and let's go through some indices. And I don't know what this is going to look like when I hit this button. Okay. So that's not the end of the world. Bear with me. I usually prepare both these screens before I get started, but I was working on some other stuff. So there we go. Get my face out of the way. So this is a weekly chart of the SPY. You can see we had a little engulfing negative week. However, right, like let's look at this, right? When you're on the internet this weekend, everyone says the world's coming to an end, right? Remember, this was the worst pandemic in 100 years that occurred, right? So put it in context, right? So this is obviously a really bullish trend. So if we even just pull back to the primary trend line, which I would probably draw kind of like that, and then let's put the breakout area right here. Maybe we pull back to there, and that's not a lot in the grand scheme of things, right? That's not huge. That's not, world-ending pullbacks. So could we be due for another pullback? Yep. And we'll talk about how to trade around that when and if it occurs. Let's look at, we'll go daily, weekly. So in the daily chart, just to kind of highlight what I was looking at, this area right here, we could pull back to, and that's about 425. So if we pull back and we hold 425 and then base for a little bit, that would just be healthy, right? That's what you would expect a market like that to do. Let's take a look at technology with the Qs. Again, relative to the breakout point right here, still way stronger. Has the same trend line. I actually drew this one in and kept it in. So if we pull back into this area, again, I consider that healthy bullish action for a healthy bullish market. You want the stock to move up and then to pull back, and then to move up, and then to pull back, and then to move up, and then to pull back. You want that to occur. Anything that goes straight up, like something like Bitcoin does, it crashes just as dramatically. So this right, up, pause, down, up, maybe pause, down. That's as healthy as you could possibly get for market mechanics. So I'm certainly not getting worried or anything, but I just think that maybe we are a bit extended from our primary trend line and we've got to pull back down into it. So that would be, let's just actually quantify this for people. 7-8% pullback, right? So somewhere between, say, 5 and 10% pullback is what I'm thinking is possible over the next, couple weeks. So that doesn't mean that I think, the world's ending, the sky's falling, and we all need to run, but I am taking a much more cautious stance as I run this analysis. Last but not least, I want to look at two. I want to look at IWM, which never got off the ground, right? The breakout area for IWM is still right here. So this never got out of this range where we have resistance right up here. Should just start drawing in these lines, right? As opposed to drawing them again. And we landed right at support. So next week, are we going to bounce off that support or are we going to break down? If we get a good breakdown, I really don't see much until this area right here. Come on. Right, so that's a lot of a pullback to go in through there. So, right, IWM is always more volatile than the rest, so that one's kind of interesting. Last, we'll look at XLE. And so if we go into the daily here with XLE, this is more what I was watching intraday, or not intraday, intra-week, like for the analysis that I do for Stats Edge Pro. And I was just noting this rounded top that happened here and then the baseline of that. So when we close below that, I was pretty sure we were in for a rough couple days in the XLE, and that's exactly what we had. Now the question is, this area in through here, is that going to act as support? So do we have one more leg down here before a bounce? And then what happens, right? We never know, but right, rounded top worked the way we expected. So let's see if a bounce off support is also going to work as we expected. So again, to summarize my thoughts on the market is I am cautious, but I'm not doomsdaying, right? I'm not, right? It's all over, right? It's time for the market to go. There's this one parody account on Twitter that I love that I can't ever remember the name. And all this guy does is like everyday post, right? I think there's a Black Friday coming or a Black Monday coming. And it's like the entire account is nothing but bearish calls for the end of the world. And I don't know, I just find him absolutely hilarious because people don't understand that he's not serious. Just trying to see if I can see him here quickly. No. If anyone knows, just post the name. I think it's a riot. Just reading the comments of everyone, all like the doomsday preppers that are there with them. But that's what I see here. Bitcoin. How many people are following him? Oh, it's a lot. I wish I could. Let me go through my Twitter. Because I always like his stuff because I think it's hilarious. I don't even know how friggin' Twitter works, eh? I think that means I'm old. All right, I'm not going to spend much time doing this. This isn't content. It's not what I want to be doing with my Friday afternoon either, I guess. Oh, well, he's gone. Just follow me on Twitter. I'll always retweet his stuff. But anyway, it's just a good joke account. Bitcoin looks like death here, right? It's holding on to the low end of this support like, its life depends on it with this declining trend line. But there's no need to take action yet for any reason, just because we are still at support. So there's no reason why it couldn't either bounce off support or put in another one of these wicks, one of these bull traps. So now if we take this line and we extend it down, it puts us under 15K, or at least at 15K on a breakdown. So, it's very possible that Bitcoin gets cut in half again if we break out of this range. I got to say that around that area, which would probably be this area as well, I'll be probably looking to buy a bunch. So, right, it's not basic, and I've basically stopped looking at crypto until that occurs, because everything is like that. Everything's been chopping around in ranges for weeks. Right, it's just all like, I think I tried to take a shot on ADA somewhere in through here, and I sold it and made enough to live for a week off a Happy Meal kind of thing. Like, it's just nothing's moving in the crypto space, so I'm not really going to spend any more time on it. So that is, to summarize, from all the videos I made last week, I took one trade today, and I had about that break even trade on WVE. I keep looking at the camera like you guys can see me. There we go. Yeah, so I took one trade on top of that WVE, which is a break even, so 2 trades. On the market, I'm expecting a small pullback. If we don't get it, I think that's just going to be a sign of insane bullishness. I hope we get a pullback or some sort of a chop, just because it's kind of about time. Again, healthy markets go up and then rest, and then go up and then rest, and then go up and then rest. As people come in to take profits, right, which you expect to happen, you can't have a market that just keeps going up and up and up without people wanting to take profits, because then what they'll do is they'll all take profits at the same time, and it will terrify the market and push it back. So what does that mean, right? What am I going to do differently? The answer is nothing, right? I have my setups that I look for, and those are the setups that I'm interested in. I'm trying to add a couple more with this last hour trader thing, but I'm just going to keep doing the same stuff, right? But what I'm going to do is pay way more attention to the market. If we're gapping down and selling, then I'm going to look at which of my names aren't gapping down and selling, and I'll gravitate towards those. I'll try to focus a little more on indices to make sure I'm aligned with the industries that seem to be doing well. Also, I'll be much quicker on taking profits, right? So now what I'm doing a lot of the time is at about 1 times my risk, I will take out a large chunk of the position, enough that if that last bit gets stopped out, I still make money on the position, and this allows me to scalp little bits out of the market on a swing trading basis during this environment, and then hold a tiny bit. And like, one example of that is I think from this week in the room, I don't know, or maybe it might have been last week, was pizza, right? I was looking for pizza over this area. Oh, it must have been last week, right? Bought it as it broke out, sold most, like right around, I think, 110. And then the position I've got with the stop down here is just super tiny, so I don't even need to watch it. So if we chop sideways for a while and then move, I'll still make money. If it comes down and stops me out, then I still make a little bit as well. So that's kind of just a bit of a change that I'm making. But when it comes to what I'm looking for, I highly recommend that people don't actively change that so much. Try to stick within your same setups, because then it will help you make sure that you're again, I hate the term mastering, but you're mastering those setups, because you're not just, hey, this might not be performing that well, let me jump. It's more of a, hey, this may not be performing so well, now let me adapt the trading style. So CNF, this actually looks interesting right here. And I like this is something I want to try. And people within Stats Edge will probably know why, because it will just take me less time than doing them twice. So CF, I'm basically looking at this 120. Come on, there. This $120 area in through here, right? You can see it was a big area back here, and it looks like it's resistance right here. They're in insurance, right? So I'm gonna add that. That's gonna be 120. See, I don't like this because I got to do more research before I can put it on the list for the pro guys anyway. Basically, I do like an overview, and then the ones that I filter out that overview, so that won't work. So never mind. I will take the screenshot though. So what am I looking at? So again, I'm looking at this $120 area because that's interesting. They're in insurance, direct property, and casualty insurance characters, Cincinnati Financial. So they're an insurance company, right? And we talked about these lame names and how these lame names, if I'm right and the market's going to sell off, these lame names are going to overperform, which is great, right? Financially looks sound. July 28th is earnings. So that gives us enough time to take the trade. So I like the look of that. So in this kind of thing, I'm looking for strong names, understanding that the strong names right now, basically by what we saw on the that one's interesting. Knowing that these are going to be slower, lamer names, but if they're the ones that are working in this environment, I would rather make, slow money than no money. And I'm more looking to buy pullback because as the market gets choppier, you can get a little bit more greedy with your price, and you can look for pullbacks instead of just breakouts. Janux Therapeutics. That's interesting. That's not in any of the sectors that we were watching, but that is an interesting looking one. Often the IPO price, which is way up here, will kind of act as a magnet. So sometimes, right, you get these big strong push-ups, and we got a little pullback going on here, and I like buying into pullbacks instead of stocks that are already way overdone. So it could just be magnetized to that. And what was the other one? TRUP that I played like this. Is that it? No. TPS. TSP. Yeah, so TSP was the same kind of a play where the IPO price was right here. And I got a good one. I think it was here. So as soon as it's above the IPO and all the sellers are gone and everyone's happy, you can get some cool moves. Yeah, R&R. See, I just want to go for the strong stuff. I don't know anything about this Bermuda company either. Doesn't look bad. It's just not. So there's NK TX, which I like. It's always good that when I find something that I'm already in on my optimized scans, because all of these have, you got to remember all of these scans have some amount of testing involved behind them. This one's interesting right? Again, so I only have a couple setups, right? They're pretty simple. They're pullback type plays, and then they're these rounded bottom cup and handle style looks with REGI. Now this is renewable energy, and the XLE has been getting hammered, but maybe there'll be a flight into that. But I do like if you look at this XLE, right, and then you look at the REGI, the outperformance of this. I don't even know how much renewables make up the XLE, to be honest, or whether it's all just dirty old stuff. I could look at this one too. Yeah, really, really strong, right? But not in a straight line. It's had a few pullbacks as well. So even if this is the end, right, it bounces, it doesn't quite make a higher high, and then it goes, I still think there's some money in there for us. I do like that this $50 was resistance for a month or so, and now it's acting as support. So we're right near a level of importance. So if we get in anywhere kind of 52-ish and we put our stop at 50, that's a really low risk. And then if it gets up here, we can at least make 3 times our risk, even if it fails anywhere near there. And they're in recyclable material wholesale. So that would make sense with the more defensive type names as well. I hate Acquisition Corp. Acquisition. Like, it's like, there's just so many. This would be a more speculative play, but it's interesting. Just has a bunch of levels of interest kind of here, and it pulled back to that after making this insane run. I'm going to add that one as kind of a for fun. You could get a good percentage move out of that with a very, very small amount of capital, which is something I always like to see. Let's take a look at our rounded bottom scan. So this is a scan that's looking for that kind of second pattern that I really like, which are these rounded bottom plays. There's NKTX again. And Citrix is getting hammered. Makes sense, I guess. Citrix would be a not do well during a reopening. Yeah, QDEL. Traded this one this week. Just, I guess, talk about how, because we were having a bit of a conversation in the room. This one I like the that it sold off into the support area, so I actually bought some in through here. We got a nice 2-day spike, and I sold most, as I was talking about, for that kind of 1-hour trade, and then put my stop under this low right here. So I'm still in this one, but again, tiny amounts, because things just aren't working too much. Oh, and there's R&R, where you got that from. Yeah, it's all, I just don't. Right, it's 160 is resistance. So then I look at it and I say, well, 152 to 160 is just not enough meat on the bone. It's another pullback scan that I have. Grant says, are these the stocks I'm watching for next week? Yeah, well, this is how I'm finding them. The actual names I'll put up in the Stats Edge Pro section. I'll prepare all that and, do the annotation on the charts like I normally do. List the areas that I'm interested in, all that. Wing, man. It can't break 160, but it's also can't go down. This is might be interesting to see, take another shot at Wing, but this time make it close above 160 and then take the trade, as opposed to, because this was another one too that I took this week and that didn't work out, right? I was in over 160 and then it slammed back down and got me. But if I had waited and said, okay, I want this thing to close above 160, then we can go as well. WCC having latency problems. You'd be better off talking to the guys over at Trade Ideas. for that kind of millisecond latency thing. We've got some smart dudes over there that would help with that. I don't see an issue with mine. Like, here's my latency, and I'm running like a lot that you can't see, and a lot of crazy and external stuff. And this is just like a shitty VM, and it's 87 milliseconds. I may start rebuilding your layout, like tear it down and build it back up from scratch. Like, start, you could do like a triage, right? Close it, save the layout so that you can get it, close it all down, go open up a chart and put that in, see if that does it, right? Put a couple of your scans in that you like, see if that does it, right? And then go from there. Try to figure out what it is, like what's the breaking point, right? Is it 1 scan? Is it 10 scans? Is it 100 scans? Right? All of those. So yeah, because there's just got to be something. Either you're running too much, or there's just something weird that's going on, and that would be the best way. It's like if you go to a holistic medicine person, they're like, remove everything from your diet and then let them back in one at a time. So I think that might be a good move for you too, where just remove everything from your layout and start adding things one at a time and see where the breakdown occurs. Yeah, you're the only one that I heard with that. You're in wings still, Michael? I'm one of those people. I'd rather get into wings, stopped out the next day, and then back in if it goes. But that's just a personal trading preference. I'm not even convinced that I'm right by doing that. A lot of traders I know, a lot of really good name traders that I know, will basically, they'll enter the trade, they'll set out the stop, they'll set out the profit target, and then they'll start like a time stop and say, okay, if neither the target nor the stop is hit in like 2 weeks, I'm out. I always debate. It's one of those, always a trade-off. LHDX is interesting. We already got a wicked, well, no, I missed, we'll say. I talked about this trade, but we already missed a wicked one from this. Maybe after this pullback. No, I don't want to enable dictation. Maybe a second shot. No, I'm just surprised it's still popping up. Yeah, it's just not, right? It's not strong, but it's just they can't kill it. It's every time they get down to this area, a buyer steps in. So I'm going to add this one. This one might actually be the call or the video for the week. But I think that's what you gotta do with that. You gotta say, I want it to get up and close, which again is why I've been thinking about this only trading into the close for years, right? So now the question is, right, the algorithms I'm building are almost done. I've done enough testing that I'm confident that it will at least be the same results as my normal trading, but I'm willing to bet it will actually be much, much better. And that's from some math I did. I think I showed you guys where I ran what would happen if you bought the open and sold the close versus what would happen if you bought the close and sold the open. Just proving that most of the gains that occur in the market happen overnight. So then my concept being, okay, well, for example, I did, okay, what happens if I bought a stock that closed near its high and then sold it the next day? And I ran that 10 years back, 50,000 results, and that's a horrible idea. So then my thought was, okay, well, what about pullbacks? And, bounces from pullbacks seem to happen a lot overnight. So again, there was a very distinct thought process to get me to this point. It's not just because I'm lazy, but it is certainly partly because I'm lazy. Aflac. Man, I'm good. Yeah, that one looks interesting. I like my insurance name, I think, better. But that one is interesting. You'll never see these things heavily shorted. No one's no one's insane enough to short insurance companies. So after this scan, I'm going to go through one more. And again, this is the stuff not to just plug away on Stats Edge Pro the whole time, but this is what I do every single night. And then I, write on all the charts and annotate them up with what I see and post them and say these are levels that I'd watch. It's not a signal service, will never be a signal service. I don't ever want to run a signal service or be confused with running a signal service, but I do think there's a lot of value in people seeing the output as either a second opinion if you're already a good trader and you're profitable, or if you're a new one and you want to see kind of behind the scenes on the work that is done so that you can build it yourself. That's what I'm focusing on here. Jeez, I'm not. I think it's important to do this scanning as well, as opposed to relying just on algorithms, because the fact that my normal scans are struggling in this way to find anything, like most of these look like crap to me. It's that in and of itself I can find as kind of an unquantifiable market metric, and something that I've noticed over a period of time. If I'm scanning through and everything looks amazing, I'm just like, this looks great, this looks great, this looks great, this looks great. Odds are the entire market probably internally looks good, and has a chance to move up. If I'm struggling to find stuff, which I am now, I do like the look of this one, which I'll rant about in a second. Then I find that it's kind of telling me something. It's like the more you have to fight to find a setup, I think the less interesting that setup would be. I kind of like to look at this IT just because it's just a nice tight flag. And if, again, we compare this to the market over, especially today, took a big hit. This IT, instead of getting hammered like that, looks like it's holding on. So let's go into the last one. This one is all one that I may share with the scans with Stats Edge, just because there's so many customs. But it's basically looking for, it only works after the market closes. But it's basically looking for two dojis back to back. So you'll notice with all of these that yesterday was some sort of doji or spinning top, and today was some sort of doji or spinning top. I don't find that there's any magic in candlesticks. However, partnered with the other analysis, 2 days of pure indecision can lead to some interesting moves after that indecision is resolved. And I feel like I should say, if there's anyone here who doesn't know what program I'm using and is interested, it's called Trade Ideas. Links are in the description below, along with the discount code that saves you money. Full disclosure, that's an affiliate link, so that, they will kick part of that back to me, and I appreciate that. The charting software you saw earlier was TrendSpider, and I always say that I use both all the time, every day. I couldn't live without Trade Ideas. I don't think I could. I could. It would just take way more work. And then TrendSpider, I find, is a great charting platform. They've got some of their own scans, which are kind of cool. Do a lot with them with crypto and Forex, which I'm starting to play with as well. I'm starting to work on some algorithms. I wonder how my yen dollar position's going. I've just started playing. I'm flat. I'm using trading view here for my paper trading. So this is my first paper trading position, where I'm risking 500 to make 1,000 on Japanese yen. So again, if that ever turns into a thing, I will of course share that and my process there as well. Just trying to see if I can come up with a strategy with this that once an hour I check the charts, and if this XYZ setup that I'm looking at is occurring, then I take a trade. I'm batting for a 50% win rate with a 2-to-1 risk reward. If I can maintain that for any length of time, then that's happening. AYRO. What, this? I don't really see much in this. Is that? That's near support, I guess. So this is a scan that needs some work. I don't find a lot with it, to be honest, and that's all there is. The problem is when you just specify, I want to see a doji. The issue... Yeah, that might actually be an interesting one. The issue with that is that it just often doesn't look good. And this is the squeeze one. Jeez, yeah. Like, I think there's like, this is telling me something. And again, this is why even before Stats Edge, this is something that every day I would sit down, I would start doing this. I've been doing this process for ages, right? For years. Basically, what you guys are seeing is the output. I've been doing that input for years. And this is why I think it is, because there's something unquantifiable but just hammering through the charts. So this one's interesting. It's nice little tight base going on here. Looks like 15 is support. A little bit low volume, so watch out for that. 700,000 shares should be more than enough, actually. So this one I'm thinking maybe if we can close above these highs around 17, right? Maybe the same concept of maybe we get drawn to the IPO price, and then who knows after that. So I'm watching that one. Do I specifically start by looking at the daily chart? Yeah. So my theory behind this is always, as a trader, you're trying to predict the next, 4 or 5 candles, right? So because I'm a swing trader and I'm trying to hold things for a week or so, I'm going to look at the daily chart, right? If I'm an intraday trader, but I'm the intraday trader in the way that I want to buy things and I want to hold them for a half hour. Well, I'm going to look at like a 5-minute chart because I want to predict the next 4 or 5-minute candles. If I'm a day trader that I just want to be in a stock for a couple of minutes, then I'll look at a 1-minute chart, right? So that's kind of how I curtail what I'm looking at. So stocks that I'm if I'm ever looking at investments, which I do, and I do trade investments technically as well, that's when I'll take more of a look at a weekly chart, right? Because again, the goal is just those next candles. So then what I'll do is when it's time for entry is when I'll kind of zoom in. So I guess I can show you guys now because I think I'm done scanning, but this, oh, it broke. Frig. Let me move. This is the problem with being on experimental builds. My layout just imploded. And then let's do that. Oh. And then, hold on. This will be worth it. Just wait. So during the day, and I do get a lot of, questions about me working from a hammock and stuff, which I certainly do. Okay, good. All right. Sorry. So then that, and then that, and then we're going to go. So this is basically what I look at intraday. I've got a 5-minute chart, and then I've got a 15-minute chart, and then I've got a daily chart and a weekly chart. Where's the symbol linking? Symbol linking. So all of the scans that I put into trade ideas, basically they get filtered into this particular setup, right? So all day, so for example, Go went through this morning and said, hey, this might be interesting, right? You can see the little arrow where it went through. But this is what I watch intraday to decide on making an entry. And I'm actually going to save this and update my channel quick. And hopefully it doesn't implode. But yeah, so the idea is to edit custom channels. There we go. So yeah, so this is kind of how I'll look at it, where when I'm scanning, I want one big chart that just represents, okay, this is everything that you're looking for as you scan through it. And then during the day, this is the only layout I have open. So the only thing that you guys aren't seeing on other screens is work that I'm doing somewhere else or thumbnail charts. I have a screen over here, right? Right now it has you guys and another charting platform. You know, it's got right over here I've got Slack for trade ideas and then Discord for Stats Edge. But then I virtual desktops. I'm sure you guys know what that is, where you can, well, here I can show you. If I do this, does this work? Let's close that. I'm just waiting to see if I do it on screen. Yeah. So I can do this, right? So what I do is over here, I'll just keep, and this is an ultra wide monitor. So you guys are only ever seeing half of my monitor, right? There's a whole other half over there, and I just keep that with thumbnail charts of everything that I'm looking to see. But this is like my decision-making terminal, and this is why I use the multiple layouts for this, just to see kind of what's going on. So like when I was looking at Go this morning, I was saying that's a little bit overdone, but maybe if we base around in the afternoon and then break, then I'll take Go. And you can see what happened. It pulled back there pretty dramatically. But kind of the thing I wanted to, I guess, stress with this is how insanely simple it is, right? Where I've got my watch list right here. I've got my multi-strategy window, which just contains a bunch of alert windows, some algos that I'm looking at, some algos that I'm looking at to trade maybe on certain days. Like this one's Black Hole and Star Eater and everything in the squeeze break. That's all up here. But then at the same time, it's just going through my watch list and it's just showing me stocks that come from the watch list. And then if I'm working on something else, I just move the screen over to this, which just has, 10, 15 thumbnail charts on it, right? Where everything's just kind of going through, right? So yeah, so then this multi-strategy window contains a series of algos, some two I'm not watching right now. But these are all the ones that are up on the site, Sam. But I just did it with, you can add them all to a multi-strategy window. So like the swing scan, for example, is basically just looking at things that are crossing daily high resistance, but it's doing so for my liked list. So then anytime I want it to watch a stock, right, I just make sure that this little heart's filled in, right? So for example, TUFN, I'm not interested anymore, so I'll take that off the list. ESI, not interested anymore, right? So these were on my list last night, but now they all look like crap. Same with VIS, not interested anymore. So what will happen is this teal one basically goes through my watch list and just watches it all day. And if something's breaking out, it's interested in it, right? And then I've got that set. I don't think I have now that my layout got messed up, but I'll put it back. That I only want to see those that happen in the last half of the day. So I don't see the ones that spike up in the morning and get rejected. So it's just a way to, again, to simplify and to color code everything, right? So I don't, my whole synopsis is that I mentored a trader once, and he was a military guy. And when I explained to him a lot of my philosophies, we went on for months together, back and forth. And he said something that I really liked, that basically says you don't get smarter when the bullets are flying. And it was just something that he'd picked up in the military. Basically, you make the plan before the fight starts, and then after, you just, you need to follow your plan. So everything I have built here is just all part of my plan, right? And then if I want to take this and then I just want to do my thumbnail charts like that, I can just hit my many charts layout. And this just gives me 6, again, the same scans. So it gives me my watch list, and it gives me the scans I watch intraday. And then there's 6 charts here. So I can take these and I can fill these in with all the things that I'm watching. NKTX, that kind of stuff. And I can just now have 6 watch lists and just go through or 6 charts. And then, whether I'm on my laptop or often, I will actually do that from this little friggin' iPad. Let me see if I can do that for you guys. Come on. I guess not cooperating right now for some reason. But yeah, I can bring up the same thing, and I can just put it up on my iPad here, so I can swipe over and I can just quickly see my 6 positions. If I do that, what happens? What are you guys seeing? Oh, perfect. So, right, I can just sit in the hammock and just keep an eye on everything. Right, and I've got the keyboard and mouse and everything that I plug this into, and this is a good little mobile type of setup, right? So that's going to be it, guys. I didn't figure out which one I'm going to make a video about. Let's quickly. What one did I say it was? Yeah, I think it's going to be JanX. That's the one I'm the most interested in. Okay, so just because I like to tell you guys. So then I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to make the video about JanX. I'm going to upload it. Take care of all that. From there, then later tonight or early tomorrow, guys, I'll do the Stats Edge Pro stuff. And as always, I'll ping everyone in the Discord when that's done. Thanks everyone for coming out and watching. I will see you soon.